Good evening, Coyote fans. Welcome into episode 30 of season 1 of the Howling podcast. My name is Jordan Decker. Tonight, joined once again by Mark Wendt and Chad Berger. Catch us on X at Howl With Us 3, myself at JD605, Mark at WDiamond605, and Chad at Chad Berger. Berger, B-I-R-G-E-R, at Chad Berger. We are also on Facebook. By searching the Howling Podcast on Facebook, please like and follow. We'd love to get to 100 followers before the end of the first season. Thank you to all that already follow us on Facebook and on YouTube. If you're watching and you have not yet subscribed at the Howling Podcast, please, as Chad says, smash that subscribe button so we can get more subscribers. Quick disclaimer before we begin. As always, the opinions on this show are strictly ours and not of those of USD or the athletic department. Tonight's show is once again brought to you by the tremendous folks over at the Wakanda Peach Company out of Burbank, South Dakota. Wakanda Peach Company, where all your peach dreams come true. Tonight, as always, we recap the week that was. We look forward to the upcoming week of USD athletic events. And in a few minutes, we will be joined by USD assistant softball coach, Coach Piv. Chad and Mark, good evening.
How we doing?
Let's go. Good. Another episode, guys. Let's go.
30 episodes.
Can you believe that?
And I didn't know this. I should have known this. You told me this before we hopped on. I have perfect attendance so far.
Well,
I'm just... maybe that's why the ratings are down. You might get an opportunity to really bump the ratings next week because of Easter. I don't know if I'll be able to hop on, but we'll see.
It'll be a fun experiment. See what life is like without you.
Well, I was gonna mention to everyone out there, we're trying to go live on X tonight, but we're having a few technical difficulties. So apologies to everyone out there trying to watch on X. Go ahead and flip over to our YouTube channel. I don't know how you can see this if you're not watching on YouTube, but join in on YouTube, and we'll post a link to the recording later on X. Apologies for any technical difficulties.
And as soon as we get to 100 followers on Facebook, right, we were able to post there as well. So
yep,
we're really trying. If you guys don't like us on Facebook or follow us on Facebook after the episode or right now, doesn't matter to me. Just go give us a like, give us a follow on Facebook, the Howling Podcast.
Yep. Even if you don't like us in person, you can still like our Facebook.
You can still like the idea of the show.
Yep. Yeah.
Like the page and mute us if that's what you got to do. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, we're all about that. So this past week was an interesting week in USD athletics. Quite a bit going on. Some of the results, track and field, there's lots and lots of results, records and whatnot. So we'll try to go through some of that here later on in the show. But as always, go to goyotes.com and check that out. Softball split with Drake and swept Morningside. So we'll talk more about that in detail here in just a minute. Tennis beat Creighton 5-2. Hey, should we move to the Big East or what? I mean, beat UConn, beat Creighton. Maybe, I don't know, conference shift there for tennis. I don't know. We'll see. So. Yeah, we own the East. But unfortunately, Friday home match against Denver, tough loss, 4-3 on that one. Volleyball beat USF at the Stewart Center on Thursday night. Jordan and I were there, so we'll talk about that later on. So lots of good stuff happened on Thursday night. Soccer played Omaha. If you have the results, tweet at us and let us know how it went. Those exhibition or non-season games the scores don't get reported. So we would love to know how it went. And women's basketball had a spectacular week and won the transfer portal. So that's the week that was.
A good week.
Yeah, it was a great week. So next up, let's go ahead and bring our guest on. This was from something that we did at the Summit League tournament, but you can see Coach Piv joining us there. So we're proud to have you with us, Coach. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Howling Podcast.
That is amazing.
I remember when we were talking that night as a group and how brave you were to wear shorts and a t-shirt.
Yeah.
for the Summit League tournament, especially that first night. That was good on you.
You know, it just the whole interaction of the night, probably a top 5 for me. So just remember it like it was yesterday.
Right.
Well, Coach, this is your second season as an assistant coach at USD. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
How did you end up with the Yotes?
I mean, by chance, by whatever you want to call it. I was at our friends up in Brookings for 4 years. And then I went to the University of Sioux Falls as a head coach for 5. And, you know, Coach Wags and I kind of got to know each other through those. And when the timing was right, came down here, and I've enjoyed the last 2 years, year and 10 months, whatever it's been. But yeah, it's been good.
Awesome.
Coach, I want to ask you just kind of a general softball question, especially for teams in this part of the world. Your preseason takes place somewhere down south warm, and most of your non-conferences takes place somewhere not Vermilion.
Mm-hmm.
One, how do the kids take care of school? And 2, is that hard to recruit kids to come play for USD and then spend your non-conference, traveling the south?
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously there's pros and cons to it. The cool thing is, like, we get to go and we get to see all of these massive stadiums, and we're traveling a lot. And, our last year we went to Tennessee and Georgia, like big time right away to open up the season. This year we went to Texas twice. We were in South Carolina. So those experiences are just things that, our kids get that are different than playing at home every weekend. Our professors here at USD are phenomenal in terms of helping our kids. We've had to proctor some tests on the road, but our kids get stuff done ahead of time most of the time. And so then they don't have to worry about making stuff up and catching up when they come back. And I think that just goes into the kind of student athlete that we recruit, right? We have to get kids that, have their ducks in a row and know what they're doing and know how to time manage and have really good GPAs in high school and JUCO transfers even. Because otherwise it's really tough. Our basically first week of February through middle of March is travel on Thursday, play Friday, Saturday, Sunday, travel back, and then go to class Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then do the same thing over and over and over. So in a given year, we'll play 30, 35 games in a row on the road before we're ever at home. And so if you don't have kids that can get their stuff done and don't have to be babysat and do that, this is really, really tough for them. So, we kind of let them know that ahead of time. I do think the freshmen struggle. They don't quite understand it until they go through it. But yeah, it's a grind for sure. It's tough.
Coach, we weekly we'll go through the results and what's upcoming for you guys, and kind of highlight some student athlete performances. But for folks out there that might not follow the softball team as closely, can you give us a rundown of the roster and who's been having a good season thus far?
Yeah, for sure. We we're led by 3 seniors that have had a lot of collegiate softball experience. And sometimes you get kids on the roster at that level and that age that maybe have had other roles. But, we have Clara Edwards as a starting pitcher, first base DP, who is going to leave here with a lot of records and her name all over the books. A nursing student who has figured out a way to balance both. She was a Summit League Pitcher of the Week once this year. And Tatum Vallada at second base, also a senior, hits 1-2 in our lineup, somewhere up at top, has a ton of speed, hits as a slapper / hitter from the left-hand side, and really just kind of is a leader. And then Riley Jones plays shortstop for us. And Riley was at Sioux Falls when I was at Sioux Falls. So I have known Riley, I feel like, since, I don't know, she's 5 years old, maybe. I've watched her grow up. And so like the key cog right up the middle is just really experienced, good leaders with those seniors. And then McKenna Young is a sophomore pitcher who two, maybe three time player of the week, pitcher of the week in the league this year. She throws the ball hard. She can spin it. She has an off speed that kind of keeps kids off balance too. And she just kind of gets out there and does her thing. And so it's really fun to see when Kenna is on, like she can compete with anybody. And we've seen that throughout the year. So, we've had some freshmen step up, and sometimes that's a flip of a coin. Like, are they going to get here and they don't know any different, so they're going to excel, or they get here and they're super intimidated and they can't figure it out? So Ella McGee and Campbell German and Madison Evans, a Sioux Falls kid. We have some really good softball players, and they've figured out this way to like mesh things together. And, we talk about, you have to have, your defense has got to be good, your hitting's got to be good, and your pitching's got to be good. And you really need two of those three things working at any given time to make sure that you can win a game. And we found ourselves sometimes with two of those working and sometimes with all three. And I think that's a credit going back to our three seniors and their leadership and what they bring just with that experience. So, that's kind of our keys. We're not super flashy. We're not super over the top, but we have just really good kids who know how to play the game. And so it makes it fun.
Coach, I saw you retweeted a video of someone talking about like working hard and having fun.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously having fun is the goal, but it's more than just going out there and, goofing around. What types of things do you work on as a coach with the players in the off season to get them so that at this point in the season, they can have fun?
Yeah. I think that's something that is changing all the time. And one of my coaching colleagues, actually from USF, Jack Nelson, he was a men's basketball assistant. One of my first years, maybe it was year 2 up there, gave me this article about the difference between fun and rewarding, and just the sheer having fun and goofing around and laughing and joking versus like, I'm having fun because I know I've put the work in. I know I deserve to have this. I get to see the successes of my teammates and the people around me. And so I think what we try to do a lot is we try to put our kids in situations where they have to fail in order to learn. And really just emphasize that it's not necessarily a failure. Kobe Bryant talked about that. It's not a failure if we learn from it. The only time you fail is when you just stop trying, right? And you're not learning and you're digging your heels in and doing the same thing over and over. So we have to get creative here. Practices in the dome around jumping apparatus and runners running around all the time. We got to get creative. And I think that gives us a completely different mental mindset going into things. So we really try to emphasize that those hours and hours and hours and the weight room time and sitting in the classroom and doing the mental health sessions and the strategy sessions and our dome retreat and doing all of that stuff prepares you so that you can go out and you can be rewarded in the spring when we get to conference play. Because this is the time that matters. This is the time that we've got to be clicking everybody together and rowing in the same direction, because all of that stuff that you did the whole rest of the year, like that was just practice and preparation to put you in positions to be really good now. And so, like I said, whether it's tough practices or it's we take a spring training trip in Arizona or in January down to Arizona, and it's practice for 3 hours in the morning, have some sort of a session over lunch, whether it's with an umpire or a team building or a mental training, something over lunch. And then we're practicing again 3 to 4 hours in the afternoon, and we throw a lot at them, but that's the hard work that makes, the win over state, the first day on their turf, rewarding. Right. And so the more that we can get that and that buy-in and that emphasis on really, like, that's the grittiness, that's the stuff that you want to be celebrating with your teammates versus like a funny joke that was told in the outfield. So I think that's something that when we were younger, I don't know that we really knew the difference. We worked hard and we competed, and it was always for that name on the front, and it was all the time a thing. And now as this continues to evolve and change, and athletics in general is different, I just think that's something that we got to keep our focus on if we want to keep competing at that highest level, because there has to be that reward because of the process, because you don't always get it with the outcome.
Coach, I did want to touch on, you brought up that game in Brookings, the first game on their new turf, and we ended up winning and jumped on them early and kind of kept them at bay. We talked about on the show last week how we were probably, one or two hits or outs away from really walking out of there for sure with the series win, if not a series sweep. Did you guys feel that way yourselves? Did you take something good out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tough part is that, those games are always going to be tough. They're always going to be close. They're always going to be a battle. And what it really comes down to is when you get into inning 4, 5, and 6, and it's a 2-2 game, it's the first team that's going to crack. It's the first error that's made. It's the first leadoff walk of an inning. It's that small of a piece that kind of shifts the momentum. And our sport is so much momentum driven. It's somebody gets a big hit, and then all of a sudden they have 4 hits in a row, and you have to pull that back. And we just got to a couple different points in both of those games where it just shifted over to their side, and we just struggled to bring it back. I think we all felt like, especially game 2, that we had too many of those pieces, and yet we still found ourselves in position to win. And then, at that point you go into game 3 and it's like a 1-1, who's going to break and who's going to get it figured out. And, being up there, that's special for them. They had tons of alumni there. The stands were packed with people, brand new turf. They had something to kind of prove. And I think some of those intangible things became what pushed over the hump. And so I think that we felt like we left games there. And we talked afterwards. Kaylin Wagner, who is Coach's wife and also on our staff, she said to the girls, obviously we wanted to win this, and we always do, but we want to make sure that when we come back to the conference tournament here, that we've made improvements and we're a better team at that point than they will be at that point. And so we've got to learn from some of those examples because, I think we all left there with a really, really kind of disgusted feeling, and nothing against them, but I think we just felt like we left it. We left too many opportunities and too many little things, out there, an extra base runner here and there. I think in game 2, we had 9 or 12 left on base, and you just can't do that, So a couple things.
Yeah. I'll just make a comment here. You don't have to comment on it at all, but I do look forward to the day when we're celebrating our new turf on our softball field. So looking forward to that.
Heard. Got you.
Coach, let's hop into a time machine back in time. Oh, Chad's on mute.
I was going to say sponsored by the Wakanda Peach Company of Burbank. Yeah.
Coach, if you will, let's take a time machine back in time here. How and when did you fall in love with softball?
Oh, man. I'm the middle of 3, and my dad was a sports reporter for the Omaha World Herald. And I think that we just, growing up, we were at everything. We were at Omaha Royals games. We were at Husker football practices. We were at Creighton basketball, you name it. And we went with my dad when he would go to interview people, and we would play catch with student athletes and semi-pro ball players. And it just kind of was what we grew up in. And so, my mom and dad put the freedom to each one of us to kind of, make our own path and do what we wanted, and always supported us in getting involved in activities and got us to the places that we needed to go to. And so I think that I just got super lucky finding a really good local, which also doesn't happen anymore, but a local travel team, softball wise. And we were the Ralston Red Hots. And, we had fun. Like, we worked really hard and we won a lot of games. And my team was just like, it was made up of kids from all these different, at that time, middle schools across Omaha. And so we just loved it. And then we kind of all played basketball and all played a spring sport of some sort. And, I think when I got into high school, it was soccer and softball that were like my two loves. And softball's in the fall in Nebraska and soccer's in the spring. And I don't know, I had to play basketball in the middle, I guess. I fouled out more than I played on the court. But it was just so much fun to all the time be in this kind of hotbed where we could go to Kansas City and see some really good talent from down south come up. And we went up to Minnesota and over into Iowa, and you're just constantly seeing like really high level softball. And so I think it was the speed of the game. It was just how, softball IQ and trying to outsmart other people. And I just kind of fell in love with all of that. And I think that, that's where it started. And like I said, I don't know that would have ever happened if my dad didn't have his job and wasn't just constantly inundating us with all of that. But yeah, I mean, sports were just kind of our life.
Were you a charge taker or were you like a reacher in basketball? Like,
yeah,
were they dumbbells or were you physical?
Yeah, so I'm like I'm 5'6" on a good day. And at our school, I was a post player. So like there would literally be times that I'm guarding like 6'6'2", and you can't just let them have an easy basket, right? So I got to do something, and yeah, it was that. I have one record in basketball that still stands today. I was 11 for 12 shooting from the floor. So like I had some skill. I just, I fouled a lot. It's great.
Coach, I want to ask you a little bit about when fans come out to USD games here. A lot of us haven't grown up or been around softball a whole lot. What type of fan behavior should we show out there? I mean, is it okay to hold up an eye chart maybe if officials make questionable calls, or is it okay to yell or say things, or like what types of things should we do if we come out to softball games?
Yeah, all of the above. Lots of energy. I don't know if you guys were at tennis when they played Denver the other day, but like the student section at that match was phenomenal. And they had to get told to quiet down at certain points. And I get that, but like, that's not necessarily quite a thing for us. When really good plays happen, it's great to get up and cheer. When better things happen, when you hear us get excited, when an umpire makes a call that you don't agree with, all of those are perfect times for you to vocalize your own opinion. Very, very ideal times.
I feel like Mark, though, has the ability to be like, hey, blue, and then hold up the eye chart, and then the ump will turn around and just go, like, I hope that I'm there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And John said, Chad, you might know this too, like at the tennis match, apparently it was so rowdy that during one of the singles competitions, Denver's top player has never lost a Summit League match before, and she got DQ'd because she slammed her racket in frustration.
Yes, it was, and she's probably a phenomenal human being, and I mean this in the nicest way, but it was one of the most epic meltdowns that I've like witnessed in person. Like there were certain points as a coach and a competitor that you're like, okay, she's going to flip it around. Like she's going to figure it out. And she couldn't. And so those students, they provided a lot in that. It was awesome.
That's fantastic.
And I think that would be great if we could get that kind of support for all of our sports on campus. And so that's kind of what we're going for. I actually, so Jordan and I were at volleyball in Sioux Falls on Thursday. We're planning on going back to Tuesday night, but I went down to tennis on Friday. So I'm trying to get out to as many of these things as I can. But yeah, it's great when the students are there because, you know, the old guys like us, you know, a lot of times we're just sitting there with our arms folded and, you know, whatever else. But the students show a lot of energy in those things. And so that's
speak for yourself on the old part, there, pal.
All right.
Coach, you got 9 games left in the regular season. What do you want to see happen between now and conference tournament time to put us in a spot to go dancing?
Yeah, I mean, we you know, we have Omaha next weekend, and Omaha is who they are, and they're really good. Obviously, they've been to the NCAA tournament the last couple of years. They've brought in a couple transfers who are really good, and we have to go to their place to play. So, you know, I think as a staff, I think as a group, we want to see ourselves come out and compete with a little bit more grit, a little bit more intentionality to detail, a little bit more fight from inning 1 through 14 on day 1 and then 1 through 7 on day 2, and not kind of have those lulls and letdowns, peaks and valleys kind of things. So I think that's really big there. And then we have North Dakota State and UMKC, who right now both sit below us. And so I think something that, you know, we've seen at different times this year is playing down to levels, either based on what has happened in the past or a team's name, or after game 1, you know, we win it and then we kind of fall into that lull. And I think what we feel like we need to do is just figure out a way to get all 3 of those areas. Like I said, the offense, the defense, and the pitching kind of rolling in the same direction so that we can really get ourselves wherever we finish into a position so that when we get to the conference tournament, everything is clicking. And I do think some of that falls on us. You know, it's really hard to practice when we're in the middle of season. Just playing 56 regular season games is a lot. And so that I think we need to be a little bit more intentional with what we're doing coming up, and each week is going to be preparing for each one of those opponents, so that we put our kids in the best position that they can be in to be successful. And I think we have the right squad to do some really special things still. Only 9 games sounds really crazy to say because the season has flown by, but these are 9 really big games heading into what will be the third phase, I guess, of our season.
The opportunities are there.
For
right?
sure. Yep.
I'm a Seinfeld guy. TCB, got to take care of business.
There you go.
Last one for me, Coach. All athletics, it seems, have had these tremendous new uniforms across the board. What's your favorite softball uniform combo this spring?
Yeah, we got black uniforms, and I think, I mean, I'm sure everybody else in the department thinks their blacks are the best, but I think our blacks are the best uniform around USD. They look super sharp on the field. They've got the brand new coyote head on the pants. And they just, you know, it's a different element. It just looks really good out on the field. So I'm a pinstripe fan at heart. We don't have any pinstripes. So for us right now, in what we have, it's for sure our all blacks.
The batting helmets with the Yote script are pretty nice too. Pretty nice.
They look good. I mean, look good, feel good, play good. That's what we were going for this year. So
yeah.
Well, I'm not all about the look of the things as much as my compadres here, but I'm all about playing good, but yeah, if whatever it takes, right?
Yeah.
And I know that's a big thing with recruiting too, right? Is to have the looks and combos with uniforms and everything else. So got to have that to compete with other schools.
Yep.
Coach, I really appreciate you coming on. I'm looking forward to the rest of the regular season and the conference tournament and following along with what's going on. For those of us that are ready for some action here, you guys are at Omaha this week, but then at North Dakota State the following week, but then have one more section at home on May 2nd and 3rd.
Yep.
How rowdy should we be on May 2nd and 3rd?
Yeah, it's going to be great. So kind of like the tennis event, that's our Code Red event on the Friday. So a home run derby after the games. Hopefully a ton of support around. It's our senior weekend. There's a track meet going on Friday as well. So, bring the noise, bring the energy. Our kids, like I said, they thrive on that momentum. And if we can keep it on our side from the support that we're getting outside in the stands, and then we can add to it with hopefully some, really good plays and things like that on the field. That would be huge. And that's our last tune-up going into the tournament. So lots of energy, lots of noise, bring your signs, eye charts, all of the above. We welcome it.
So on a scale between church and Savannah Bananas, where are we falling in rowdy here?
Yeah, the bananas for sure.
Okay.
If you have stilts and you can hop out on that, we'll see you outside the center field fence. Hold up like a target. I mean, I think we could get really creative here.
Yeah, I might know someone's got like a snare drum. Can I bring that and be like, is that allowed? Is that no?
Until they tell you no, I think you're good. I mean, we can't have it in the dugout, but more power to you.
Yeah, I think you
might just sit out in left field and be that guy.
Love it. I love it.
Okay. Let's go. All right. So Jordan,
let's go. Here we go.
Jordan. Every time I ask you to go to something during the day, you always say, "Oh, I have meetings scheduled." So right now is your
I do. What do we got?
May 2nd. Block off your calendar from 11 a.m. on through the rest of the day. We're going. Okay. Are you doing this right now?
Friday. Yep. May 2nd. Friday. Okay.
All right. We're making this happen right now, Coach.
That's a big weekend. That's Cinco de Mayo. Okay.
Well, that May 2nd is Dos de Mayo. I don't know if you're good at Spanish, but
it's the weekend of it.
Yeah, he's like incorporating the whole thing. Plan out every single minute. I hear you.
Yeah. Well, you just want to celebrate it on the Monday? No.
Seems boring.
Well, Coach, thank you so much for joining us today. Hope we had a great time. I hope you did as well. But looking forward to the rest of the regular season and the conference tournament.
Thanks for the opportunity to come on, guys. Obviously, I love USD. I love being a Coyote, but showcasing our kids and what they're doing. The more that we can do it, the better. So I really appreciate you having me and this opportunity.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Jeez, awesome.
That was. Have we? God,
that was.
I'm all fucked up now. I want to go to some softball today. Let's go.
I just ordered a red Bubuzuela. Like it should be here next week or this week, I should say. Let's go.
I could have gone to some softball today. A couple big wins earlier. We're going to go over that here in a little bit. Before we get there, though, news and notes.
News and notes, as we've been mentioning last few weeks, Calling All Yotes is now in their rear view mirror. Initial indications are that we shattered last year's, which was a record last year, is we have a new record. Understand it was shattered. So women's basketball, I think I missed this last week, but Jenna Hopp signed. She's transferring in. She played with the team up north last year. Also, Josie Hill, Rapid City native, who played at Colorado State, announced she's committed to USD. Elise, I'm going to let Jerry P. figure out how to say that last name before I attempt it. Carleton State last year has announced her commitment. Our friend of the show, Casey Kassenbauer, assistant on the men's basketball team, was named the head coach at Upper Iowa. So congrats to Coach K.
Let's go Peacocks. Let's go Peacocks.
Yeah, the Peacocks, yes. And I don't know who put this one down here, but I had a nice meeting with the university police this weekend. So maybe we'll get into that later. I don't know. But
well, I was going to say, since you brought it up, let's go ahead and talk about that real quickly.
Well, so you guys know, if I hear football, my immediate thought is, well, what time's tailgate start? Where are we meeting? What are we doing? What are we eating? That kind of thing. So when they announced that, this spring deal was going to be, starting at 1, and I've said it on the show last couple of weeks, like tailgate's going to start at 10:30, 11-ish. And so Mitch and I ended up, he was there before I showed up at about 11. And we were going to keep it very simple. We weren't, no canopy, no tables, but we were going to have a beverage or two and maybe grill some hot dogs or bratwurst. I got 2 drinks out of my Coors Light, and UPD stopped by and asked us what we were doing and why we were there. And we were politely told. The gentleman was very nice, so I don't have any problem with that guy. I do wonder who called. That'd be nice to know. But he basically told us that the tailgate situation was a no-go. So a little disappointing, but we may do, and ended up having a really fun day nonetheless. So that's that story.
Wow.
Well, only illegal if you get caught.
Correct.
Well, let's go ahead and just make sure everyone's aware. Apparently, you can't just tailgate any day, but President Gestring, if you're watching, let's go ahead and make sure that next year for the spring game-ish day, we have tailgating available.
I will say, though, it might have been a little difficult with everything else going on, though. I mean, you had the track and field event and the GP going on at the same time. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That'd be kind of hard to get that approved to be able to do that on this year anyways. Like last year was great. There was nothing else going on. So we were like the only car in the parking lot up until 5 minutes before the spring game actually started.
Mark, how many other cars were in the parking lot while you were there?
Well, there was very few. It did fill in. I would just say, like, if they wanted to make tailgating a thing, I think there's spots that we could make available for such things. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we'll check that out next season. But yeah, sounds like you had a good time though. Otherwise, Jordan, you were there as well.
Yeah. Took my oldest down there. We got there pretty much right as it was starting. But I loved the format, the different skills competitions, the guys competing against one another in these things, linemen trying to catch punts, and with one hand. I mean, it was like right in front of it. Was the guys looked like they were having a blast, and then do that for an hour, and then all the kids. I mean, they had what, I think 300 or maybe just shy of 300 kids come. And to see that many kids and their families there was tremendous. And from what I was told, it's a lot of families that they haven't bought tickets before. They haven't been to games in a while. So to get them in the door, to see the dome, the renovations, the new turf, I think that was, I could not speak highly enough of the format. And the kids had a blast. The student athletes were great, sticking around, signing autographs for an hour afterwards too. They looked tired by the end of it, but shout out to the coaches, and yes, juniors, 8th grade and younger. Shout out to the coaches, the student athletes, everyone that put on that event. Job well done.
Yeah, no, it was fun. It was a great day.
Well, good. Glad to hear it all went well. In addition to that, we did have the Calling All Coyotes event on Friday night. Jordan, and you were at that. Do you want to give any details?
Yeah, it was another year we were fortunate enough to be able to go, and again, it was phenomenal. I think this was the first year, I'm not going to say ever, but first year, at least from what I had heard, that they did it in-house, that the staff of Alumni Association, Foundation, Athletics, they did it in-house. They did not hire out to put on this event, and I thought it went, from a spectator standpoint, very smoothly. I was pretty ticked off at myself for losing out on some of the silent auction items at the very last second. Definitely eye chart worthy on that, but they don't have a final number quite yet. But yeah, from what I was hearing at the event and then seeing the social posts, I think they did pretty well. I'm excited to see the record-breaking number, but I did end up getting on stage for heads and tails. It was a stretch of like 5 in a row tails, and I called it off. So anyways, I get on stage, and Jay and John were kind of giving me a hard time because I did heads and I wasn't moving because nobody else that had heads was moving. And then John's like, "You lost, you can go." And I like get down the stage. I'm like, "Oh, because they have more beads than I do. I was the only one with just one on." Okay. I was a little bit of a stage newbie up there. I didn't know what was quite going on, but had a blast. So me losing heads and tails, me losing on all the silent auction items were made up for by my wife, Nicole, at the end of the night, winning the Shields gift card. We were packing up and she kind of forgot we had them. And so Jay announced the numbers and she won. So she's excited to use that. Not we. That's going to be a she thing. She's going to use that.
How much she get?
It was a good amount.
Okay. Couple pairs of socks, maybe. Yeah.
Couple pair of socks, maybe a left shoe.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice.
No, but seriously, job well done. It was a blast. Food was great. Great company. Got to meet a couple swimmers and track student athletes that were at our table.
Good.
Shout out to Tori Sundahl, who outbid me at the last second on the items I was after. So thanks, buddy.
Well,
turns out he did on a couple of my items too.
Earlier tonight, before we went on the air, some information started coming across on Twitter, some news. And so this message came out by Casey Smurthwaite. I think that's a real person. But this is FCS news. The Missouri Valley Football Conference and the Summit League apparently have 4 handshakes in agreement, based on the number of emojis on the screen here, where there's a partnership forming and all but done, where essentially, if you go to their website and read the article, the Summit League is going to become an ex officio manager of the Missouri Valley Football Conference or something along those lines. We're still a little shady on the details here, but something
layman's terms.
Yeah. We need people that are smarter than us to explain what's happening here in nice, easy language. That's
well, look, Commissioner Fenton is waiting to get on here. Let's welcome in. Not quite yet.
So we'll pass along any details as they become available, but that was something that came up and was rather interesting. So
yeah, the St. Thomas football deal is the interesting part of that, and obviously when the details come out, we'll figure that out. But yeah, that initial article, I'm not smart enough to translate what he was saying there. So details to come.
All right. Casey Smurthwaite, if you are watching right now, go ahead and chime in on the comments. Or if you're not Casey Smurthwaite and you want to comment, go ahead and do so on the live chat on the YouTube, and your comment could be featured on the show as well. So go ahead and hit us up in the live comments. Jordan, I did mention you and I were at volleyball on Thursday night. It started at 6, which is a little bit early. We both got there a little bit later than that, but kind of interesting results there as far as the volleyball went. USD struggled a little bit early.
Yep.
I think I had the score up earlier, but USD dropped the first set. I'll go ahead and pull up my records here so I have them in front of me. Dropped the first set 25-15 to USF. it didn't really look like the passing game was on point very much. It looked like me passing out there, guys. Like we were not hitting our center very well. It was not great. And so USF won that first one 25-15, and it probably wasn't even that close. They kind of dominated in the opening set. Second set, USD kicked it in a little bit. They did switch a few players in there. So Avery Van Hook is the usual setter. She set out the second set. And we got a freshman in there. I'm not remembering the name right now. I'll see if I can pull it up here in a moment. But and so switched a little bit of personnel, but dropped that one 25-22. And once again, just not looking sharp on certain aspects of the game. So between set 2 and set 3, a lot of people. It was a pretty impressive crowd at the event for a Thursday night in Sioux Falls. And a lot of people were kind of looking around like, wow, this is not what we expected. And there was a little bit of maybe butt chewing going on over there in the USD huddle.
Yeah.
The music got turned up a little bit.
Yeah. But set 3, the Yotes came out and just put a whooping up 25-12 in set 3. And then set 4, 25-19 victory. It's always fun when you get the USD on those last 3 hits.
Yeah.
So I've got videos out there on the X machine if you want to go watch those from that 4th set. And then the 5th set, back and forth the whole time. And USD came out on top 16-14 in the 5th set. It was a really fun night of volleyball and lots of great stuff. There weren't a whole lot of, for those of you that are used to going to normal volleyball events, there's usually things like line judges. There's usually people that go get the loose balls. Well, none of that was happening. And so I started out going after some of the loose balls in the corner over there. And then Jordan's son wanted to take over for me. So we put him in.
He had a blast. No, that was he's almost 4, so he's at the age of, yeah, it's cute, but at any moment he could do whatever he wants. And I was so nervous that a couple times he was getting ready to throw it to Leanne and there was play going on. So that was a bit nerve-wracking. But no, it's one of those things I would like bringing the boys to, and he was able to come with me and it was fun. Yeah, you're right. Sets 3 and 4. Well, I think we turned to each other multiple times. By the way, I switched seats and between set 2 and 3. So
didn't make a difference, but yeah.
But they hit the ball harder. They were better with passes. Like it was, but we turned around numerous times. Like that's more like it. There we go.
I will say some of the aspects you mentioned, your son throwing it back to coach when the play was going on. Coach Williamson must have, obviously has had, children and knows how to deal with them. But yeah, she did a great job of just going with the flow and whatever else. But it was very interesting. We also did have, this is the first time I've ever seen this. I think we had an honor system challenge during the match where both officials called that there was a tip on one team and the player said, we didn't tip it. And so then they went and awarded it back to that team.
Really?
So it was very interesting on how that worked out.
There was one, who was it? Where she went to go dig and it was out of bounds and the refs were going to call, because then it like went into the net and she gets up and she like yells, I swear to God, I didn't touch it. And then the refs were like, okay, that's fine. Like point USD. I mean, what are you going to, I mean, it's fine. I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, you were right. There were several, like, I swear I didn't touch it.
It was fun though. It was great.
Fun.
The crowd there was fantastic, and it was a good time. So
My
if you're
first
able to
time
get
in the
out there,
Stewart Center.
yeah, the world's only Stewart Center.
The world's only Stewart Center.
I say that my good friend Ken Sid Kortemeyer, who was at University of Sioux Falls from 1969 up through this past 2024, he passed away last October, and he always referred to it as the world's only Stewart Center. So I say that in his honor. So
It's a beautiful facility.
Yep, it is.
Rumor is we got volunteered to be involved on Tuesday. Is that correct?
Oh boy.
Well, I had a few words with some people in the athletic department, and we'll see what ends up happening.
Where's
I'm very
this at on
excited.
Tuesday?
At the SCSC, Tuesday night, 6:00. So, if you're around, if you're in or near Vermilion, make sure to make it out. Augustana College, we got the upcoming events here coming up. But get out there and support the Oats. It's a good time.
I'll be there.
We also mentioned tennis. Tennis hosted Creighton earlier this week and defeated them 5-2. Things started off a little bit slow in the doubles. As you can see here, the number one doubles team, Sorsha and Amanda, ended up losing that one 6-4. And then Katarina and Selena in the number 3 doubles lost that one. The number 2 didn't finish because, once again, remember, it's 2 out of 3. It's like the old Meatloaf song, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. 2 out of 3 gets the point in tennis. But so in this case, Creighton started off with a 1-0 lead. But then when you break out the singles matches here, you can see that the Yotes really did a lot of good things. The win by opponent retirement, I think that's like the opponent was unable to finish the match type of thing. In the number 4 singles happened there. So Selena Bird ended up getting that victory there, but won the first set 6-1 in that one. And then the number 5 single, Grace Chaddock, was able to get the victory there. So the Yotes are off to a good start. Sorsha comes out and dominates her match, and then all of a sudden Amanda is winning hers, and boom, there it is. There's the 4 points. So you get those 4 points, and it's a big deal. And things worked out really well for the Yotes, and ended up getting the big victory. I say let's go move to the Big East next year in tennis, and we'll dominate.
Let's just do it in all sports.
Yeah, well, I'm fine. I'm in.
I'm just kidding.
Mark, you're on mute. I think you said something there.
It's undefeated against the Big East, right?
Undefeated against the Big East. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
Great time. So then on Friday, you heard Coach Piv talk about it earlier, but on Friday, hosted Denver. It was a noon match. It was a gorgeous day. It was not windy. It was sunny. The temperature was fantastic out there at the tennis courts right outside the Dakota Dome. And in this one, started off a little bit slow once again with the doubles losses. Actually, they let all 3 of them go here, but all 3 the Yotes ones lost on this one. So Denver had the 1-0 lead, and then where the way they kind of break it up at the tennis courts there. So the main court, the number 1 court there, is right by where the fans were sitting, and they had pizza out there for the fans, and they had all kinds of stuff going on. But it turned out to be a really great day. But unfortunately, Denver is pretty good, and they were able to pull off some of these victories. Sorsha kind of struggled against her opponent on this one and lost 6-1, 6-1, and then Grace ended up winning hers, so that was good to get the Yotes back into it. Katarina ended up on the wrong end of things, and next thing you know, we're kind of struggling here. We're at the point where one more loss does it, and then the number 4 single, Selena, ended up losing to their number 4, Marley Lambert, and that was kind of the end of it. There was a point, where the number 1 match turned into a very entertaining event. Their number 1 player had never lost before, and it was, with all the crowd there and everything, it was pretty intense and pretty crazy on how things were going. The first one went into a tie break. Bea was actually ahead in this one. I think it was 6-4, and their player ended up coming back to win 7-6 in the first set, and then Bea got the second set, and then in the third one was up 4-1 and ended up getting that victory in that one when the number 1 defaulted on that. And then Amanda also won hers. So the Yotes got a couple wins late there, but unfortunately we're on the wrong end of the scoreboard. Unfortunately for the Yotes, that does drop them down to 2-4 in the conference. And, Oral Roberts won a couple over the weekend. And so they are number 3, and only the top 4 teams in the conference make the playoffs or the conference tournament. And so the Yotes were just outside of that top 4. So will not play in the conference tournament, but great season. And, I'm a fan. I went to a couple tennis matches this year, and I'm a huge fan. And so, it's something to look forward to going forward.
Solid effort.
Yeah. Well, Coach Piv was on here earlier to talk about softball. We'll run through some of the softball results here. Mark, you want to lead us off here?
Yeah, so on Wednesday we went to Drake. Came away with a 3-0 victory, as you can see here. McKenna Young, complete game, 5 strikeouts. Delaney White doing Delaney White things, 2 for 3 with an RBI. And Ella McGee and Abby Brown both had an RBI in this one. So kind of a pitcher's duel for the most part. And McKenna Young came out victorious, as did our softball team. Game 2, as Coach Piv talked about a little bit here, it was a tight game. In fact, we had the lead going into the bottom of the 7th, 2-1, and unfortunately let it slip away as they scored 2 in the bottom of the 7th to walk us off, and ended up losing that game 3-2. And then this afternoon, we played Morningside in a doubleheader. Couple of shutout victories for the Yotes. This first one, 6-0. Tatum Vallada, a new member of the 200 hit club, got a couple more hits today, or in the first game with an RBI, including, as my good friend, Mr. Brown, play-by-play announcer for the Pittsburgh Pirates, always says when someone hits a triple, it's a triple. So, and Abby Brown also went 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs, and the 2 RBIs came on a home run. And Riley Jones was also 2 for 3. So, 12 hits total for the Yotes.
And that 200 hits was not in this game. That would be a record. So that's
correct.
Career hits.
Goodness gracious, what was the score?
Game 2, more of the same from the Yotes. This one, 8-0. Riley Jones was 2 for 2. Madison Evans, 1 for 2 with 2 runs. Carrie Brook with the always awesome, no official at-bats, but batted 2 runs in somehow. Autumn Iverson was 1 for 2 with an RBI. And McKenna Young, once again, pretty nice pitching performance. 5-inning pitch, 7 strikeouts, and no earned runs.
If you get walked and the bases are loaded, does that count as an RBI?
Yeah. And I think both of Carrie's RBIs were on sac flies, and they don't count as an official at bat. So that's how she came about that. But it's always weird to look at it on a stat sheet, 0 for 0, 2 RBI.
So you might have noticed some of those attendance figures were pretty large. It was a windy, sunny day out there, but there was some stuff going on, and so they did have some. Helpers out there on the field.
Yeah, a clinic afterwards, much like the football team did on Saturday. A clinic after the second game. Looks like they had a great turnout and a lot of smiling faces there. So
that's awesome.
Shout out for softball for putting that on. So,
and those are juniors, as in younger children. Yeah.
A lot of juniors.
Hey, are those? Go back to that picture. The jerseys. Do those say Coyotes in script, or is it just? Oh, it's South Dakota. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Man, we have sharp unis this year.
Well, the conference rankings, Coach talked about it earlier. Omaha's the top of the conference, 9-3. It's going to be a tough week this week. Play them 3 times later in the week. But the other 2 opponents that the Yotes have this season are both below South Dakota in the standings. So North Dakota State next week, and then Kansas City on May 2nd and 3rd, as we mentioned earlier. And so lots to look forward to. Hopefully some success here at the end of the season for the Coyote softball squad.
Time to get hot.
Yeah. Let's go. All right. Track and field we mentioned earlier had a lot going on. One of the things always go to goyotes.com for all this. I'll go through that here in a minute. But there was a school record in the women's hammer throw. The hammer, for those of you that are wondering, is a projectile. It's like a ball at the end of a, I don't know,
Like
apparatus.
piano string, yeah.
Yeah. And they spin around and chuck this thing out there really far into the field. And Lydia was able to throw that thing 214 feet, 1 inch. What's that in the metric system? Do we know? I'm joking. We don't care. Yeah, we don't care. So great job, Lydia, on breaking that school record, and keep up the good work. And then additionally, we also had a competitor in the pole vault. Marlene in this one broke the record with 14 feet, 11 and a half inches in the pole vault, which is second in the NCAA so far this season. So great job, Marlene.
I believe we have the #1 women's pole vault team in the country.
Correct.
Man.
Yeah. So great job. Keep up the work there. As always, full results are available on goyotes.com. So get out there and check that out.
Yeah, it's always kind of overwhelming when we're trying to do a track and field, slide or two. Like there's just so many results. It's just impossible. And I feel bad for leaving, great performances out, but they're all on goyotes.com, and we certainly do appreciate their efforts. So,
well, coming up this week, track and field is going to California. California, here we come. 3 different meets in California. I don't know how they schedule all that stuff and organize everything, but Thursday through Saturday, the track and field squad will be out in California. Volleyball, we mentioned earlier, will be at home at the SCSC on Tuesday against Augustana College at 6:00 p.m. Softball plays at Omaha, doubleheader on Friday, and then 1 game on Saturday. Men's golf is going to be at Purdue at the Burke Boilermaker Golf Complex in West Lafayette, Indiana. And women's golf is headed to the Summit League Championship in Mesa, Arizona. So which Summit League team is in Mesa, Arizona again? Okay, well, whatever. That's where they will be.
That's a good point. Why not just have it in Verm? It's always better than anywhere else this time of year.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, we're at that point in the show. And now.
And that's just what they wanted to do there. And all things considered, again, as you see the iChart cardboard cutout, how appropriate.
Through the review, the iChart made its way to the video board. It really injected some energy.
Mark Wendt is famous for holding up his iChart at basketball games when officials make questionable calls. We are going to hold up our iCharts of the week for questionable calls, whether they were in games or in life for the past week. So before we get into it, we'll go ahead and go through the results of last week's iChart. The Pittsburgh Pirates, for removing the Clemente wall, ended up winning. Duke was second, and I was third. So I don't feel so bad about myself right now. So, Mark, you had the Pittsburgh Pirates last week. So what is your iChart of the week this week?
No, this week I had plenty of options. Like it wasn't one of those weeks where I was scrambling trying to think of something. The Pittsburgh Pirates could have won again. They ended up removing a bunch of bricks with donors' names on it and throwing them in the landfill without telling anybody. I obviously had the person who called the cops on me on Saturday for tailgating. But I'm going to go with the Sacramento State University president, and I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to add Coach Ada Barnes to this as well. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but Sacramento State, they're bound and determined to go FBS, and they're going to do it as an independent. But Sacramento State's university president was on Reddit or something and said that the FCS is JV. Sacramento State has never been out of the quarterfinals. I believe that's right. In the FCS playoffs, they've never won anything in the FCS. And so if you want to go play varsity, as you would call it, maybe you should win something in JV before you do that. You're easy to hate, Sacramento State. And I threw Ada Barnes in there as well. She's since apologized, but she also made a comment about universities at the P4 level hiring mid-major coaches. She claimed that they weren't trying. They were hiring these scrubs from mid-majors to coach their teams, which proved they weren't trying. So she's since backtracked, which is credit to her. But I just found both those two instances of people bashing kind of where USD is in the landscape as eye chart of the week material. So they get my eye chart.
Pretty sure we handed them an L 2 years ago too in the FCA. I think you're right. I don't think they've ever made it to the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
like
they
just
haven't.
the first or second round. Like they've never.
I saw someone tweeted out that Sacramento State has a losing record in the Big West. I believe they're in.
Also, I'm pretty sure their basketball renderings or their gym. I think it's their new court renderings. It looks like Brandon Valley High School gym. Like it looks like it could hold maybe 1,500 people in it.
I will not be cheering for them.
Well, Jordan, why don't you go next?
Yeah, so I had a couple as well. But one I did have that I forgot when I was talking to you guys beforehand. Mine is going to Tennessee's now former quarterback, Nico Amalevin, or Lamalevin. Amalevin. I like the Amalevin. I saw that and I was like, I'm going to use that. For thinking he could go through contract negotiations with Tennessee. I believe it was upwards of like $3-4 million. So he sat out of spring ball. And shout out, or not shout out, it's not like he's going to be listening to this, but kudos to Josh Heupel and Tennessee Athletics for basically saying, fine, bye. Like we're moving on. Inform the team. So my eye chart is going to Tennessee's former quarterback, Nico Amalevin.
Bravo,
All right.
Tennessee. Bravo.
All right. Well, I'm going to try my best here to, not ruffle too many feathers, but what do you guys know? What's one of the things that South Dakota State fans always give us a hard time about with football? And like, where do they say real football should be played? I don't even know.
Real football played outside.
Real football is played outdoors.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So that's one of the things that they always say, right? Huh. Well, this week, South Dakota State University had their spring game, and interesting enough, one of the fans shared a video with me, and let's see if I can get this up on the screen. Maybe I can. There we go. Here's a video of South Dakota State's spring game.
That doesn't look like it's outside.
Is that outdoors? Interesting. Okay, hold on. Yeah.
Weird.
So South Dakota State University played their spring game indoors.
It was a beautiful day too. Outside.
Eye chart of the week. There we go.
I guess it wasn't real football then. It wasn't real.
Yeah, it's not real football.
I don't know.
So they got anything else going on out there.
Make sure to get out there and vote on X for the eye chart of the week. We always like to hear your results. We'll get the poll posted here within an hour, typically. But yeah, go out and vote for your eye chart of the week so that you can pick the winner. The choices are Mark's, which had two of them. Jordan had a good one, and then I had our friends up north, who always brag about real football being played outdoors. So those are the nominees for this week's eye chart of the week.
I think I saw someone brag about their spring game attendance too.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Well,
Always on their mind.
yeah.
Oh, we're always on their mind. It's okay.
Well,
It's a Kenny Rogers song.
I had a great time tonight. Hopefully you did as well. Coach Piv was awesome. Always a pleasure having Coach on the show. Any final comments here, guys?
I'll see you guys Tuesday. Is that the plan?
I will try. How's that?
I'll try to make sure I'm there, Mark.
I'll be there.
I'm due for a night out here. So.
Oh, night out? No, hold on a second.
Well, hold on. A night out is from 6 to 8:30 p.m.
Oh, I was going to say a Tuesday night in Vermilion. I mean, okay.
Well, and something else happens on Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. So always partake in that. Well, looking forward to this week in Coyote Athletics. We'll see you next week. For Coach Piv, for Jordan Decker, and for Mark Wendt, I'm Chad Berger. Until next time, go Yotes.
Go Yotes.